Hi guys, and welcome back to a new lesson. In today's video, we are going to talk about the interactions between living and non-living components. My name is Teacher Yuri, and before we begin our lesson, I'm going to flash you different vocabularies that you might find very helpful as we go through this lesson for today. Here it is. So don't worry because I will be sending you a copy of this vocabulary so that you can follow through as we do our lesson for today. So once again, we are going to talk about the interactions between living and non-living components. Before we start, I would just want to ask you a few questions. So my question is, what do you think are the non-living components that we need as a living thing we need in order to survive? Okay, so aside from food, for example, that we need from other living things, what do you think are the non-living things we need to survive? Okay, so guys, before I reveal the answers, let us talk about the environment first. So the environment is everything that's surrounding a living thing that affects how it lives. So everything, it all includes the non-living component that we need in order to survive. It is it affects how we live, and everything that we come into contact with every single day is included in our environment. Okay, so these are the different non-living things that we need in order to survive. I hope you did not answer internet or mobile phones, because basically this is the things that are very essential, very important in order for us to survive. Number one on our list is water. Both plants and animals need water to live. We need water because without water we will be thirsty, and then when we are thirsty, our system cannot function well, our organs cannot function well. We are going to die eventually. So we need water in order for us to survive in our environment. We thank the water because of this. Our bodies can function properly. If you're good at running, you can run very well because of water. If you if you want to dance, you can dance all you want because you won't be thirsty because we have water. Now, plants on the other hand need water for photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis is the process wherein plants make their own food. One of the key elements for them to make their own food is water. Okay, so water is what we need, the first non-living thing that we need in order to survive. Number two, okay, I'm sorry. Number one, water. Not everyone needs a lot of water to survive. Some plants and animals can basically are basically adapted so that they can survive in situations or in environments where there is not a lot of water. For example, the cactus and the camel. They are adapted so that they can survive in the desert where there is not much water available. But not everyone can do that, okay? Only these uh, uh, organisms can survive in environment where there is lack of water. So all of us that are not adapted for that, we need to drink a lot of water every day. However, there are different organisms that needs a lot of water to survive. For example, we have the fish. Fishes are adapted to live in the water. They live underwater. They have different forms of adaptation in order to survive, move around, inhale the dissolved oxygen in their system. Now, if they get out of water, they will not live for long because they need water to survive. The next one is rice. Rice needs a lot of water for their growth so that they can grow very well. They need a lot of water. However, too much water, too much means a lot of water, like more than enough, more than what we need. Like floods, these are examples where we are having too much water in our environment. This basically kills a lot of the living things that are not adapted to live in the water. They drown and they basically die because of this. So too much water is also not good. This kills both plants and animals which are not adapted for this kind of environment. Number 2 on our list is sunlight. Okay, so sunlight is also one very important non-living thing for us to survive because, number 1, for human beings, it provides us vitamin D. Okay, it is very useful for our growth, for our body's welfare. So the sun is important for us. It also makes us to be able to see all around. Okay, without the sun it will be very dark and we will not be able to see everything in our surroundings. It goes the same with plants and animals. Okay, for example, number 1, a cheetah hunts during daytime because it helps it needs the light of the sun in order to see the animals that they are going to hunt and eat. Okay, number 2 is that plants need sunlight in order to process photosynthesis. Okay, so they need sunlight in order for them to create their own food. Without it, they will not be able to and they will die. So some plants are actually high, very tall, which makes them get all the available sun that they can. But for shorter plants, they adapt by growing in some tall trees so they could be higher up the ground and they can get the sun that they need. Let's go deep in the water, not so deep. Okay, so the corals grow on shallow waters where there is sunlight. They also need sunlight in order for them to survive and have a beautiful day. So sunlight is very important for you, for me, for the animals, and also for the plants. However, there are animals that are adapted to live in the dark. For example, the owls are also adapted to live in the dark. Bats are also adapted to live in the dark. How can they move around? Bats actually use sound waves. They use sound waves for them to go to know the things around them. Okay, so sound waves helps the bat move around when they are hunting for food or they are moving around at night. So without the sun, these animals can still move around and they do not need sunlight to be able to see. Number 3 is air. This is one important non-living thing for our survival because a few seconds without air can cause us to die. Okay, or maybe a few minutes. Let's say a few minutes. Okay, so without air, we are not able to breathe and it will be hard for us to survive. Okay, we are going to be our system are going to stop working because our body needs oxygen. We need oxygen in order to function well. So however, there are different animals that are adapted to live in oxygen deprived water. For example, a mud skipper, they are actually adapted to survive even if the water has very low oxygen level. But aquatic organisms, or those animals that live in the water, they get dissolved oxygen from the water. It is not the form of oxygen that we have as we inhale it, but it is dissolved. So they still get oxygen underwater. Fishes, for example, use their gills in order to get dissolved oxygen. Amphibians, they use their skin to breathe the dissolved oxygen as they are in the water. Okay, so for plants, mangroves have the roots. That is their form of adaptation to breathe in a muddy water. Okay, because these trees actually grow in swampy areas where there is not much water, no oxygen in the soil. So they are able to breathe the oxygen through the roots, which are helping them. Next, we have uh, air. We also have this, what we call the moving air, which is what we call the wind. This wind actually helps corn, rice to be able to pollinate. They are also helping the dandelions in order to disperse the seeds of dandelion. So animals doesn't only help in pollination, they doesn't help only for a dispersal of seeds. Wind can also help with that. Okay, so next we have the temperature. Okay, temperature in different parts, different areas in our world, different countries, different regions have different temperatures. For example, we have in Thailand, we have this very hot temperature, or not very hot, but it's hot enough. And then in some countries like the Europe or the America, they have this cold temperature. Okay, so it affects the organisms in that certain area. For example, um, the bears. Okay, for example, bears, they hibernate, or they go into this very deep sleep in order to survive winter without food. So instead of hunting during winter, they hibernate, or they go into a very deep sleep to prevent them from using their energy, and they can survive without food during this very cold weather. Okay, different organisms adapt differently. Polar bears, however, are adapted in these cold areas. Okay, so they can move around, they can go around with without getting affected by this very cold air environment or temperature. Birds, on the other hand, because they can fly, they are moving from one place to another. That is called migration. They are moving from one cold place to another place which is warmer, so that they will not be affected by the winter. So birds are migrating. For plants, trees shed their leaves during autumn. Autumn is the season before winter. So from autumn, they actually shed their leaves, and they stay dormant, or they stay at rest. So their system are not working at that time. They stay at rest throughout the winter, and they will be active after the winter during springtime. So they shed their leaves, they're not able to go through photosynthesis, they stay dormant throughout the winter to survive. Okay, so the last non-living thing that we are going to discuss is the soil. It is a thin layer that covers the surface of the earth. Okay, so soil is very important. Why? Soil is very important because number one, we grow our plants in a soil. Okay, so the nutrients that they found in the soil, the soil basically gives the plants the nutrients that it needs in order to grow very well. So without the soil we cannot grow plants, and we cannot eat plants as well. So soil is very important for us because we grow our plants from our soil. Soil provides us livelihood because we grow our crops in the soil and we can sell them and get money from them. Okay, so soil is very important for our existence. Okay, so next is soil is also important for the to provide support for the trees or the plants, because the roots of different plants and trees are anchoring to a soil. Okay, so the soil provides support for the plant. And next is for animals, the soil. Some animals have their habitat in the soil. So basically, they are living underground. So the soil, for example, for earthworms and moles, it serves as their habitat. So the soil is important because they are uh, getting protected and they are living underground. So the soil is very important for our existence. So that is our lesson for today, the interaction between living things and non-living things. So basically the 5 non-living things that we need to survive is: number 1 is water, number 2 is sunlight, number 3 is air, number 4 is temperature, and number 5 is the soil. Okay, so let's go to our worksheet and let's answer some few questions to test your knowledge for today. Okay, good luck, and I'll see you on our next lesson. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.